recipes for technical trading success in Cook's Kitchen.
Hey everybody, Cook's Kitchen coming here to you a day late this week. You know, the big technology news obviously was Oracle getting to buy TikTok. Not really. The big news is NVIDIA trying to buy ARM Holdings, UK-based semiconductors powerhouse that SoftBank owns. And a lot of controversy about this deal. When it was rumored, say a month ago, I didn't like the idea as an NVIDIA shareholder because I thought it would be this big cash outlay over $50 billion. And it would just, I saw it as a possible jump the shark moment for Jensen Huang. Why he was, you see companies do this all the time, and it's sort of their near-term peak in sales. They go out and buy somebody big, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I actually, now that I've learned more about the deal, I like it, and I especially like the price, $40 billion. But we're going to talk about some of the controversy and why the deal may not actually go through. Let's first learn a little bit more about ARM and why NVIDIA wanted to buy them. This was, again, a UK company. In 2016, SoftBank took them private for $32 billion, paid about a 48% premium, I think. Just looking at some, how ARM describes some of their specialties. Processor IP. ARM is the world's leading technology provider of silicon IP for the intelligent system on chips at the heart of billions of devices. That's pretty key. We'll come back to that. You can go to arm.com, learn a lot more there. I tried to summarize a few of the things here. So who is ARM Holdings and what's driving the biggest potential chip deal ever? Because it hasn't closed yet and it could take a while. So British Semiconductor, I mentioned that. SoftBank takes them private in 2016 for $32 billion. Headquarters in Cambridge, UK. They also have an office, a US office in San Jose. Power player in mobile processor and graphics technology used by Samsung, Huawei, and Apple for their in-house chips. So basically, ARM designs an architecture, and then these mobile handset makers can adapt that for their own uses. ARM is also a huge supplier of CPUs for data centers. So, and that's a key thing here, where NVIDIA just makes the GPUs for data centers. They are looking to get the full stack, so to speak. ARM is also in IoT, wearables, auto technologies. They also have software development toolkits. And they work on an open licensing IP model with customer neutrality. So for their SoC designs, mentioned they're market leader, and they're in just about everybody's technology, and we'll see that in a second. Apparently, they've produced over 180 billion chips for various devices based on ARM design. So who are the technology licensing customers? Just about everybody important. Apple, Intel, Samsung. Now let's look at the size of this deal real quick. Why would this be the biggest chip deal? Well, Qualcomm for NXP semiconductors back a few years ago, a deal that did not go through, was the biggest ever at the time of $39 billion. And that took out Broadcom's, the Avago M&A there, that was $37 billion. So you can see, and there's ARM by SoftBank, $32 billion. And this slide is actually from 2017, but no bigger deals have happened since the Qualcomm for NXP deal. So just putting this in perspective, why this $40 billion it will be the biggest if it goes through. Now, I want to take another look at who ARM's top customers are. This is actually an old article, but it gives you an idea of how ARM was this sort of unknown player or behind the scenes player with a deep customer base even a decade ago. And this is from Electronic Design News, a newsletter. You've probably never gone on. It's by engineers for engineers, and they were reacting to how did ARM has service agreements and licenses with, for instance, Intel, and in 2010, ARM's revenue was $631 million. And 7% of that was from Intel. So, and they were wondering, what is Intel buying from ARM. What technology are they licensing? So you can see all the customers they had even 10 years ago and how deeply embedded they are in technology markets, sort of behind the scenes, much like a Taiwan Semiconductor is the go-to fab to make your chips. You can see ARM more as the software design component of the architectures for all these companies. All right, I wanted to show you, some of the things I wrote earlier this week, right away on Monday when we found out about the deal. My first concern on Sunday night was, don't tell me NVIDIA buying ARM is the top. I don't want this to be the end of the NVIDIA bull run, although a pullback to 450 would be very healthy. We actually took some profits this week near 520. But I said the NVIDIA deal for ARM might just be a dream because so many regulators will have to be involved. Now, I said I do like the $40 billion price tag. I almost wonder why the deal is so cheap. But when you think about, you have to get UK approval, right? And, the companies approved it, but maybe the regulators in the UK won't. Then China could get involved because there's going to be all kinds of cross-licensing, cross-border IP issues there. Korea could get involved. Samsung might have an issue with this deal too because they don't want NVIDIA to now all of a sudden have access to all these proprietary architectures. Let's see. Deutsche Bank said, hey, this could be a landscape-changing entity because combining leading GPUs and CPU architecture so NVIDIA can get into every data center with the full stack. But there could be a myriad of conflict of interest issues, the Deutsche Bank analyst noted. Right away on Monday, Jefferies raised their price target to 680, a new street high, calling the deal transformative. And once I understood ARM's reach and what NVIDIA was trying to accomplish, both in getting access to the mobile world and CPUs for data centers, at this price of $40 billion, I thought this is a genius move by Jensen Huang, but it still may not go through. And Mark Lepacius, the Jefferies analyst, has a bull case target on NVIDIA of $1,000. We'll take a closer look at his note in a minute. Many analysts are more subdued about the deal. Wedbush says, yeah, it sounds good, but he says that it most likely will never be consummated unless the U.S.-China relationship dynamic shifts considerably. And he just kept his 525 price target. So, and I said the bottom line on Monday morning was, even if the chances are better than even money that the deal goes through, it could take 1 to 2 years with all the competitors and customers and country regulators, the triple C there. They all must have their say. Again, competitors who are also customers, whether it's Apple or Intel or Qualcomm or Samsung, and then the country regulators. So there's quite a gauntlet for NVIDIA to get through to get this deal done. So again, I said we trimmed some shares. We didn't sell our whole position. Just wanted to take some more profits, see what happens here. Micron was upgraded. Okay, so here's the specific math, the $40 billion math. NVIDIA will pay $21.5 billion in stock and $12 billion in cash for ARM. That $21.5 billion in stock, that's tens of millions of shares. SoftBank could also receive an extra $5 billion in cash or stock if ARM hits certain financial performance targets, probably in the next year. And NVIDIA will also issue $1.5 billion in stock to ARM employees. That all adds up to $40 billion. And SoftBank will end up with an ownership stake in NVIDIA of just under 10%. Now, so this got me a little curious. Sort of the oddity of the deal was Masayoshi Son. Actually, I didn't pronounce his name right. Masayoshi Son, a Korean descent Japanese billionaire tech entrepreneur who struck gold with his early investment in Alibaba and then got his $100 billion vision fund started with the big leg up from the Saudis. When he bought this in 2016, he wanted it to be a crown jewel. He said he'd always admired the company and wanted it to be part of the SoftBank empire for forever. And now here he is selling it. So, but this is a guy who just took a lot of big hits recently in new economy companies like Uber and WeWork. He had to take big loss write-downs this year on both of those. So I started to wonder, here's a look at him. This is actually an article on CNBC from 2016 when the deal was announced. And, him talking about this being a paradigm shift and how here's the quote I like. This is a company I always admired for the last 10 years. This is the company I want to make part of SoftBank. I am so happy. And now here he is selling it at what I think is sort of a steep discount. So let's go back to my notes here. So I started wondering what is, we've heard that, SoftBank could have some financial trouble. They've been raising cash and they've been leveraging the stock market euphoria with huge call option purchases. But now he turns and sells ARM Holdings at a discount. What's going on here? So I said, here are some possibilities. Sun knows something about growth obstacles for ARM that we don't. Sun is bleeding cash via debt and leverage and desperately took the first deal he could. Sun is naive and afraid to go into the M&A deal market with anyone else but Jensen Huang, who he knows. Sun has an important, influential, and visionary relationship with Jensen Huang. And Sun loves NVIDIA's bright future and will gladly take tens of millions of shares in the new company. So these are, on a scale of from A to E, this is sort of my cynical skepticism up to rational vision. And I lean towards D and E, that he knows Jensen Huang and he will gladly, basically becomes, he's not getting rid of ARM. He becomes a major investor in a new combo powerhouse of NVIDIA and ARM. So Sun might be wacky, but as I said, Jensen isn't stupid. And this would be a terrifically smart acquisition for NVIDIA if they can get past the regulators on several continents. I talked more about some of the analysts, Bernstein analyst. He said, our initial reaction when this news flow began picking up several months ago was to hope that Jensen would not go through with it. And that's where I was too. I didn't even know Bernstein was there until I read this on Monday morning. They admire the boldness of the action, but can they pull it off? It would be a key differentiation, and the price tag I think is very affordable for NVIDIA. Also, here's the thing: even if this deal doesn't go through, the market sort of reacted positively. They didn't take NVIDIA down 10 or 20%. The stock actually gapped up 10% and is sort of fallen off here with NASDAQ weakness. But I said on Monday, simply by virtue of the market validating NVIDIA's M&A power to innovate and dominate that ways Intel, Qualcomm, and Samsung had not considered. So that sort of gives them carte blanche to do whatever they need to do with cash, with their decent cash flow. It's positive even if the deal doesn't go through in terms of NVIDIA not only being cutting edge innovative, but thinking about building their longer term empire. All right. So, I wanted to just give you some background here on, where did ARM come from? So it was Acorn Risk Machines back in the 80s. I think they went public in the UK in 1998. Yeah. What's funny here is that the name was changed to ARM, and they dropped the Acorn because Apple had already had a business relationship with them as Acorn, and they didn't want that anymore. All right, let's look at some of the interesting analyst notes here. So Raymond James, this is Chris Queso. He, obviously thinks it's a bold move, and they're all talking about, when is the deal accretive? Jeffries thinks it'll be $50 in EPS by 2025. Still, the company will be expensive even on that basis. But what did Queso say here? So he's talking about, NVIDIA, going beyond training and inference in the data center with CPUs and getting, other companies off x86. So he says, since NVIDIA does not participate in that market today, we agree that such a move would be pro-competitive. But NVIDIA would benefit most from that increased competition at the expense of Intel and AMD for sure, but perhaps at the expense of other ARM licensees also attempting to penetrate the data center. Finally, the regulatory hurdles will not be insignificant, particularly for China. But since NVIDIA doesn't participate in handsets or server CPU today, it will be less challenging for NVIDIA to receive approval as compared to most other potential ARM acquirers, like let's say if Intel or a Qualcomm wanted to go there, or Broadcom. All right, here was the note from Jefferies where they initially took the street high price target to 680, but then a day later, Needham bumped them out with 700. And this is Mark Lepacius at Jefferies. So he's looking at, down the road how this will create a powerhouse. That's why he calls it a transformative deal, unifying the edge with the data center. And the edge, again, is when you can have cloud compute power, but not be connected to the cloud. So at the edge in devices, for hyperscale data analytics. All right, just a few other analyst notes. Citi really likes the deal. Obviously, the CPU endeavor expands AI, and they see 250 billion, market TAM by 2023 here. And this is also interesting. It expands ARM's 13 million developers with NVIDIA's 2 million plus CUDA developer ecosystem. So again, these are engineers and developers sitting out there in software and hardware who are building on these platform architectures. And so this is a marriage of ecosystems that could be very powerful. Again, another reason that it may not get past the gauntlet of competitors, customers, and country regulators. Oppenheimer sees the deal obviously as strategic and accretive, and gets just opens up so many new markets for NVIDIA. I wanted to find the one quote there's the price target up to 700. Needham taking the street high. The one quote that I wanted to take from Jensen. Let's see if I can find that right now, because it really sums up where he's going. Basically, I can't find it right now. Basically, he said, "Listen, the future of what we're doing with AI is that we're going to create communication between so many billions of devices using AI that it'll dwarf the human communication that's currently happening on the internet." So when you think about that, you see that, we are entering definitely a brave new world of AI with lots of devices talking to each other, and running algorithms, making some sort of decisions. If you want more background on, the backlash, Reuters wrote a good article right away on Monday, September 14th, talking about, who might have a problem with this in Korea or China, or even Qualcomm or Intel. So that's some more good background there. All right, I think I covered everything I want to. Longer term, NVIDIA is still a great buy. I'm looking to buy more shares at 450 if we get down there. And so whether or not this deal goes through, NVIDIA will Jensen Huang and company will find a way to become the powerhouse that they envision 5 to 10 years from now. All right, thanks for joining me in the kitchen.